UNC and Louisville. North Carolina goes to the Yum Center, and Louisville wins 83-70. This game was, I think, a little bit closer than the final score, but Louisville had a 12-0 run there at the end of the game to really separate themselves, close the game strong. This is a very good win for a Louisville team and for Pat Kelsey here getting into the new year. And North Carolina, they don't have a bad loss. They just now have 6 losses that have all been kind of right there and just tough losses now on their resume. You can see the stats there on the screen, but Louisville, a 13-point win. Jeff, I'll start with you. What's a takeaway or two from this one for the Cardinals?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing for me for Louisville in this game was how important it is, because there just aren't a lot of big resume wins on the table. And not that Carolina's a big resume win. They're not. They're going to fight to get in the tournament as well. But they may fight with the Louisville Cardinals, and this game could be pivotal when the NCAA selection committee is looking at which team to take. I think, ACC probably you're looking at, 4 teams is probably the number you're looking at the end of the day, somewhere around there. And Chucky Hepburn was great in the second half especially. He's been pretty good all year on both ends of the court. But, I've said this. I think the difference maker for them is big James Scott, who they brought with them from Charleston. So I've had a chance to see him for a couple of years. 7-footer who completely can change the game defensively. Long, athletic, runs the court, blocks shots, and can be a lob threat. And they're trying to figure that out, because I don't think, Chucky Hepburn at Wisconsin was used to throwing those lobs like he can at James Scott. But James Scott was huge in the second half as well. Louisville pulled away. And I feel like, and we'll probably get into Carolina here a little bit, they're just too reliant right now on R.J. Davis and Ian Jackson. And R.J. Davis just doesn't have enough help right now. Ian Jackson can go get one, but it's still so much on R.J. Davis. And nothing's easy for him like it was last year when you could play a little bit of a two-man game with Armando Bacot. But huge win for Louisville. 9 wins, which already is more than last season's total. And the first year of the Kenny Payne era, they had a grand total of 4 victories.
Yeah, this was the first win for Louisville over Carolina since February of 2020. Kind of hard to believe when you look at it from that perspective, and you just look at just on paper, stone cold fact. It's been that long since Louisville has beaten Carolina. It's kind of wild to think about it. Mike, what'd you think about this one?
Yeah, I mean, the stat you just gave, I think, is pretty indicative of the state of the Louisville program over the last 4 years or so. I mean, I love seeing competent Louisville basketball, and
Sure.
they've been shorthanded, but Pat Kelsey is doing what Pat Kelsey's done in every single one of his stops, and that's create a sense of belief, create energy in the program. And then you have guys like Chucky Hepburn, who I think are an extension of that on the court. And today, especially, I mean, Chucky, he always puts his imprint on the game defensively, right? And we'll get into that in a second. But, shooting 20 free throws today, the physicality that he plays with, and it wasn't a pretty game by any means for Louisville. I mean, they struggled to shoot from the free throw line outside of Rain Smith. They struggled to shoot from the outside, but they were able to scratch and claw and be ready to snatch that game when the time came in the last 4 minutes, which I thought was really impressive. And Jeff, you hit on a really good point with Louisville. Is this was granted a game on January 1st, but as far as March goes, these are 2 teams that could potentially be on the bubble. And when you start matching things up and looking at who played who and were their head-to-head matchups, this is a game where if you won it, you feel like if it comes down to these 2 teams in March, you want to be on the right side of that bubble with a win like this. So it's huge because there's not a ton of quad 1 opportunities. Granted, it's a quad 2 win for Louisville, but there's just, you look at North Carolina, this could have been a quad 1 win for them, but they squandered that. And we'll get into more of the North Carolina issues here in a second, but I'll let this thing breathe and kick it back to Jeff if you have anything else to add.
Yeah, I mean, listen, to me, again, like, Louisville probably shoots too many threes. They do. I mean, they're not a great three-point shooting team. And I thought the key was coming out of the second half, They decided, like, we're not going to just keep launching threes. We're going to take it to the basket. And especially against a Carolina team that, let's face it, they have no rim protection. None. You know, we've talked about their lack of bigs and their lack of size, whether it's on the perimeter, whether it's down low. So I think that was the key to me, was Pat Kelsey going into the break and saying, hey, guys, you know what? We're not going to rely on the three nearly as much in the second half. And I thought they should have done that, honestly, from the outset of the game. When you're scouting North Carolina and you do have a guy like James Scott, who's 7 feet and can just go up and get it, throw it to him. Throw it to him. I saw him last year, guys, catch 7 lobs in a game here in Charleston. 7. He was 7 for 7. Caught all 7.
All right, so let's talk. Well, go ahead, Mike.